gives me a great pleasure to welcome all of you, my fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guests, and most especially our speaker tonight, Dr. Amit Nagpal, to Supreme Toastmasters Club. We are very fortunate that our charter president and VP for Education has invited a very special speaker, a business storyteller, Dr. Amit. Have you heard of business storyteller? Well, it's my first time and I'm very excited. We are very fortunate to be able to attend this talk even from 1,000 miles away from each other, and thanks to the digital world and the technology. This talk is significant because to speak in public is one of our most important skills we need to learn and to develop. And yet, learning to tell your story effectively is another challenge. Thus, this is an amazing opportunity to learn and improve our public speaking skills to the next level. I encourage all of you enjoy the evening and the talk and really take this opportunity seriously, because one way or other, we need to further develop and learn from the experts and to be able to use for our career, other activities, and our daily lives. Once again, welcome everyone.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and friends. We are indeed blessed to have with us tonight a resource speaker from India, all the way from India. He is a business, storytelling, and personal branding coach. He is also president and chief community builder of Bloggers Alliance, the largest network of bloggers in India. He has written 4 books on business storytelling and brand management. These books are available internationally through Amazon and Barnes & Noble and others. He has been a teacher and practitioner of marketing for 2.5 decades. He also teaches at leading business schools in India. So fellow Toastmasters and friends, let us welcome with a warm virtual applause, Dr. Amit Nagpal. Dr. Amit.
Thank you. And Kita. I've always heard about the Asian Business School at Manila also, and would love to speak there sometime. The school in Asia. So I have only 2-3 slides, so I will talk more. As somebody had told me something very interesting, it is more important to have power in your point than to have a PowerPoint. I hope everyone can understand my accent in English. Okay. Yep. So let me start with let me share my screen. Can you can see my screen, baby?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay. So this enlarge, excel, evolve philosophy actually, sums up my learnings. Enlarge as a human being, become a better person every day, develop yourself, whether as a speaker, as a networker, as a human being, as a social media. Social media is the main tool which we are using to build our personal brand, to share our stories, to network with people across the world, and finally evolve as a personal brand. Even when we build a brand, after 5 years or 10 years, we may have different interests. We become, more mature human beings. So, your personal brand will keep evolving. So the agenda for today, telling your anecdotes and stories inspiring the audience and building credibility at the same time. This is the power of storytelling, that we create win-win situations. I will give you one example. There was an Indian CEO connected with me on Facebook. He went to Japan. He came back. He shared his photographs in Japan and then posted, I went to Japan and visited these cities. That's all, and these are the photographs. Now, Japan is such a fascinating country for me, such a unique culture. Had he shared something about the Japanese culture, something which he found unique in Japanese cities, something which he found unique about Japanese people, then, I would have found it much more interesting. That's where storytelling comes. Now, let's say, we can go to LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook, Instagram, and just share our achievement. I got this medal. I got this prize. I met the top industrialist or businessman of Philippines today. So we can just go and share our achievements, but we are not adding any value to the life of our audience. That's where storytelling is powerful. You share something interesting so that audience either learns something, or at least, you entertain them, you bring a smile to their face, you tell something humorous. So you add value to people's lives and simultaneously build your personal brand or credibility also. But how do we do it? So we will take some examples. I will try that process for you. So before, yeah. So before I start that, I would like to talk about the power of storytelling for 2-3 minutes. We have been, as human beings, we have been telling stories for past 27,000 years. We have been telling stories on caves as paintings. That was probably the first form of storytelling human beings did. And human beings are the only species which have FOXP2 gene, which is called a storytelling gene, which is actually, gives human beings the power of sharing narrative, the power of advanced communication. So human beings are the only species with this storytelling gene. Our human brain is wired for story. Take a simple example. Maybe today you are 30-year-old. What do you remember 20 years back? You will realize that you remember stories. You remember the stories which were shared by your parents or grandparents or teachers, or you remember the incidents in your life as stories. When I was going to school, then this happened. When I scored low marks in this subject, then my teacher did this. So we remember everything as a narrative, as a story. Narrative and story, there is a very slight difference. I'll tell that difference in a simple way. If I tell you today morning 6 a.m. I got up, I brushed my teeth, I had a bath, I had my morning ablutions, then I went to office at 8 a.m. There is no story in it, but there is a narrative. I have narrated the sequence of events which do not have any meaning for you. So story is equal to narrative plus meaning. Narrative is equal to sequence of events. So everybody is familiar with the storytelling across all the cultures of the world. We all watch films. Sometimes, I have seen, at least I have seen Indians, crying when watching the Bollywood or Hindi movie because they start connecting with the, the hero or the protagonist or the shiro, as we call. So they start relating so much that they emotionally get involved. That is another power of storytelling. So now let's come to the main topic, using anecdotes. So you guys can read my slides clearly, maybe?
Yes, Dr. Amit, we can.
Would you be able to put that on slideshow mode so that it will be better?
Yeah, okay. Yes.
That's better.
Thank you.
So anecdotes are basically short, true stories or incidents. Something happened in our life, that is an anecdote, or something happened in my friend's life and I'm sharing it. So that's a simple anecdote or a short true story. Now, how do we build credibility, a brand? Because everyone has the availability of social media tools today. Which is the most popular social media in Philippines? Is it Facebook, Instagram, or
Yes, still Facebook.
Facebook? Okay.
And slowly rising, TikTok.
Okay. So now, how do you share a video on TikTok, or how do you share a text story on Facebook so that it adds to your credibility? So I have taken some examples of anecdotes. First example is meeting a famous person or an interesting personality. So maybe I researched about Supreme Toastmasters and I found it is in Greater Manila. So you guys are close to the Philippines capital or outskirts of the Philippines capital, Manila. So Manila would have a lot of industrialists, CEOs, maybe famous painters, artists, creative people. So sometimes you will be meeting somebody interesting, somebody famous, and you share a story about that person. When I met Mr. So and so, something interesting happened. I asked him this question and he answered this. Now, this is anecdote. Okay, so you are speaking at an event, you are speaking, all of you speak at Toastmasters. So when I was speaking at Toastmasters on best practices in blogging, there was an interesting question from the audience. This was the question, and then this was the answer which I gave. Now, this is building your credibility, this is building your brand, because it gives you an opportunity to showcase your knowledge in blogging. Showcase your knowledge. Maybe you run a business in cybersecurity. So when you share that this question was asked and then I gave this answer, you are showing your knowledge of cybersecurity to your audience. So this is basically the power of anecdotes and storytelling. So I have taken second example also, speaking at an event. A client of mine, few days back, he was speaking at CII, which is Confederation of Indian Industry, which is the very prestigious platform in India, which is an association of companies. So, when he shares on his social media while speaking on HR, addressing this audience at CII, I was asked this question, interesting question by the audience, and this was my answer. So in the process, he is also building his credibility that I was a speaker at CII. But the power of storytelling is it does not sound like hooting your own horn. Western cultures and Eastern cultures, this can be a difference. In Western cultures, people are more individualistic, especially countries like US. While in Eastern cultures, we are more collectivist. Maybe the family comes first, the religious community comes first, the extended family comes first, so the individual comes later. So in Eastern countries, I realized that storytelling becomes all the more powerful for personal branding, because sometimes, like one of my American friends wrote on his Twitter, shameless self-promoter. So Eastern cultures, we are more shy, and we are more reserved in sharing our own achievements, and this is where storytelling is powerful. So when my client says, I was speaking at CII and this interesting question came from the audience, then the focus is not that I was a speaker at CII. The focus is, I am telling you something interesting which happened, and maybe you will learn something, or maybe there was a joke, you will enjoy reading it. So you are adding some value to the life of your audience. Next point, which I have mentioned is working with a prestigious client. So in Philippines, you run a small business and your business has done something small. You have designed a brochure for Google. You have designed something for a famous company in Philippines, and you want to tell your network that we have worked with XYZ famous company. Now again, same approach. While working with this client, while working with Google, while working with Cadbury's for this marketing collateral project, they asked us to design design a balloon with their brand. And the balloon was so huge in size, it was so difficult to transport it, and then something interesting happened during the process. So you have to basically find something which is either educative or interesting in about that episode, that incident. So when you were doing that, what was the interesting thing which happened? What was the interesting question which was asked? Travel abroad for conference. You want to show your network that you are learning from the best people. You are traveling to Tokyo for a conference. So you are meeting people from international, at international conferences. You are learning from international audience. So you share a story about when I traveled to Shanghai or when I traveled to Tokyo. I particularly remember this interesting observation, this interesting, incident which happened. Launching a new product. You have a small business and you have come up with a new product. Maybe at Bloggers Alliance, we have come up with a new product, which is personal brand audit. So we will do the detailed audit of the client about his Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, what is right, what is wrong, what can be improved. So we are launching this new product. So we create a story about the product. How did the idea come? Why did we launch this product? What was the motivation, the backstory? The backstory is a very interesting and concept. The backstory is, why did the hero become the hero? Why did the villain become the villain? I had written on social media, posted on social media once, the hero has an inspiring story, the villain has a touching story. So villain has gone through more suffering, maybe bad childhood. That is why he became villain. Okay, so that is the backstory. Same way, your new product also has a backstory. Why did you, create that product? From where did the idea come? So that's backstory can be shared to build the brand of your product, and as to build your own brand as a startup founder. In fact, I'll share one more interesting thing with you. You will have in Toastmasters, of course, you will have, I know people in Toastmasters in Delhi, and so there is a wide variety of audience. There will be entrepreneurs, there will be people working in multinational, but the common thing is they are all fond of speaking. They are all fond of learning speaking skills. So for an entrepreneur, the launch of a new product may be interesting. For an employee, getting a promotion, taking up a new job, becoming an advisor to an organization. See, fundamentally, the basic point is to share something which you are proud of. You are very happy that this thing happened in my life. You are so proud that you met Mr. X. You are so proud that you attended that international conference on cardiology at Tokyo or Washington. You are so proud that you were the creator of a new product. You were the innovator of a new product. So you share that pride without sounding boastful. Without, what we say is personal branding is not I, me, mine. In fact, personal branding will happen. Your credibility will be built when you share and care for your network. When you make positive comments on the posts of your network. When you give constructive criticism in private, not in public. Okay. So there was a American, there was a NRI Indian, and he was training me on storytelling. And one day he posted on my Facebook page, which is a public, Facebook page and profile. I think everybody would know the difference. So Facebook page is a public, space. So he posted that you should read these books, you should do that, then I may not be happy about that, because I may feel that he's trying to build his brand at my cost. If he has to give me advice, he should give that advice in private, not in public. Now, this is a very, very interesting concept, story triggering. Now, in fact, storytelling or, stories have a 3-step process. So when you start, the first thing I would recommend you is to do story listening. Read the stories of, good storytellers. Read the stories of maybe, that famous digital marketer, Gary Vaynerchuk. So read the stories and learn how they describe. In fact, a lot of people are fond of reading fiction novels, and fiction novels can teach you a lot of storytelling skills, a lot of descriptive skills. How to, sometimes you read a novel, and you feel, after reading the novel, I feel that I'm in Scotland, because It describes Scotland so beautifully, so much detail that I start imagining that I'm in Scotland. That is the best storytelling. When people, start visualizing, you have described it so well. As a food blogger, you have described the smell of the food. As a travel blogger, you have described the beauty of the mountains and the beaches. As a a fashion blogger, you have described the beauty of the garments, the wearer of the garments in such a way that the audience starts imagining. So that's the power of descriptive storytelling, which you can learn from fiction books also. So first thing, like I said, in the 3 steps of stories, first is story listening. Second is storytelling. Okay, so you have listened to stories of other people. You have learned the art of narrative. Now the time has come to start practicing. And now you start telling your own stories. So, if you go to my LinkedIn profile, which is Amit Nagpal, Business Storyteller, I have shared my story in the About section. I was a 6-year-old child when I started wearing -6 spectacles. My class fellows did not want me in their outdoor sports teams. So it was a compulsion for me that I had nothing else to do, so I started reading books. After a few years, I realized that I had gained so much knowledge that obstacles in my life, not being able to play outdoor sports, had actually, become something useful for me. Because I learned more knowledge, I read more books. So obstacles became opportunities. We are all facing obstacles because of the pandemic or COVID-19 across the world. But how do we create positive opportunities from the pandemic? How can we serve people and at the same time create benefit for us? So that, so I have given a title to my story, Obstacle is the Path. We have to learn to convert obstacles into opportunities. And once we learn that, we can never fail in life. Because whatever, obstacle will come, we will, use it for our positive benefit. So obstacle is the path. Basically, it's a Zen Buddhism proverb, so it comes, from Japan in that sense. So obstacles are part and parcel of your journey. They are important part. They will always come in your journey. How do you handle obstacles is up to you. So story listening, storytelling, and then finally comes story triggering. Now this is a little more difficult, more challenging, I would say. Difficult still has negative energy in the word. So more challenging, because here story triggering is all about actions. I take some action and it creates a story. People like my action so much that they start talking about it. Like I have mentioned in the slide, story triggering happens when someone does something so remarkable that people who see it tell a story about it. And the basic premise is actions speak louder than words. So India had this culture that all administrative services, government officers, civil services officers had this, blue this thing on their cars, which was constantly whistling. So there was a culture of VIP, that I am a very important person and I should, be given space on the road. Road should be cleared for me. I should be treated as a very important person. And Mr. Narendra Modi stopped that system completely. Nobody will have a VIP, will be having that blue beacon on their vehicles. So I think maybe for President of India, Vice President, and maybe except for 2, 3 people, I think it has been removed for everyone else. Now, Indians which are so used to this culture of being an ordinary person and a very important person, for us, this was something so unique that everybody started talking about it. Now, this is story triggering, but I'm not trying to say that only Prime Minister can do the story triggering, and ordinary people can also do story triggering. When you do something which is so unique that people start talking about it. In simple words, doing actions which catch attention, number one. First of all, our actions, our social media posts, our content has to catch attention of the audience. People start talking and sharing about it. People start talking about our actions. People start sharing about our actions. Maybe there is somebody who has made a video, then other people start sharing that video, and it becomes a story. I had one, I will share one very interesting anecdote with you. So Indian information technology industry has a body called NASSCOM, National Association of Software and Service Companies. NASSCOM had organized MarTech conference in Mumbai in September 2015, which I attended as a delegate. There was a famous storyteller from Canada, Dave Carroll, who had come to conduct a master class on storytelling for the audience. I attended his master class, and Dave Carroll has a very, very interesting story which also demonstrates two kinds of stories go viral. One is the positive human emotion, love, affection, care. And the second is the negative human emotion like anger, frustration. So in case of Dave, he was traveling by United Airlines in US, and the United cargo broke the strings of his guitar. He spoke to the cargo, they did not apologize, they did not take any corrective action. Of course, as a guitarist, he was very frustrated. He came home and he created a song. And he created a song, United Breaks Guitar. That song went so viral. It has got more than 10 million views on YouTube. But why did people share it? Why do people share content? People shared it, most of the people shared it because they also had a frustrating experience with cargo at some point of time. So they could emotionally connect with the content. Or maybe their loved one, their parents, their sibling had a frustrating experience with cargo. So people share content when they resonate with it, when they relate to it, when they emotionally connect with it. Sometimes, actually, if you look, human beings are always looking for what is common between you and me. What is common between Philippines and India? So what is common between Philippines and India is that we are both Eastern cultures. That's why, I talked about why storytelling becomes all the more important in Eastern cultures, because in Western cultures, self-promotion is not discouraged. Being individualistic societies, self-promotion is more easy. People are more comfortable in talking about their achievements. People are more comfortable appreciating themselves. But in Eastern cultures, we are more shy of talking about our achievements. And that's where storytelling becomes powerful. And at some point of time, you need to learn how to do actions, how to, do something which triggers a story. Take an action that other people talk about you rather than you talking about yourself. Now, that is something, of course, maybe let's say there is a blind person or a physically challenged person standing on the road, and I help him cross the road, may not catch attention if I am an Indian. But if a Filipino has come to India and he's helping a physically challenged person cross the road, maybe it will catch the attention of Indian media. That in spite of being a foreigner, you are helping an Indian do something. So then people, media, social media, your network starts talking about it, and that's more powerful because you are not talking about yourself. Other people are sharing your story, and that is the ultimate goal, where other people appreciate us, other people talk about us, because like in English, we have a proverb that self-praise is no recommendation. When other people appreciate us, that gives us credibility. When we pray for other people, then even I believe that God listens to you faster. So I think that's all for today, and I'm open to questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nagpal. That was very enlightening. Now we're opening the floor to anyone who would like to ask any questions. Well, first, my question is, do you have a list of things not to do when sharing stories?
List of things not to do.
When sharing anecdotes.
Okay. Only thing which needs not be done is too much focus on I. Repeating, I, me, mine can be dangerous in storytelling if we repeat them too much. So try to put the focus on other people, how other people are benefiting by your activity. When the focus is too much on you, then of course it is not something which is appreciated in the Eastern cultures. Sometimes we have seen, there was one case where a story was shared on a social welfare activity by a management college on their Facebook, and somebody commented that you are trying to build a brand by doing social welfare activity. It is something so bad to do. Maybe in United States or Western countries, it will be acceptable. But in Eastern cultures, if you are doing social work, then you should not be using it to build your brand, to, appreciate that I have, done this social work. So just try to tone down. Like I will give you one example. One way is, supposing, let's say, you have got a prize. Maybe Toastmasters Philippines has given you a best speaker prize of Philippines. Now there are two ways of sharing it on social media. One is, I got the prize, I am great, I am the best human being, I am the best speaker. And the other way is, thanks to my parents and teachers, thanks to my, whoever you want to thank, thanks to my husband, thanks to my wife, thanks to my, so thanks to my parents who brought me, my upbringing was done with so much care that I have become such a good speaker, and I would dedicate this prize to my parents. Now, in this kind of a social media post, you will never get negative comments. In this kind of storytelling, nobody will comment negatively, because you are not trying to, take all the credit yourself. You are giving credit to your parents, to your teachers, to others. Then now, another interesting thing in storytelling and brand building. One is, again, I take the limelight on myself. My book was launched by the famous Indian Member of Parliament and former ambassador to United States, Dr. Karan Singh. I'm trying to take the limelight, but there is another way. I talk about Dr. Karan Singh. Dr. Karan Singh is the chairman of Auroville Foundation. He is the former ambassador to United States. He has received the best parliamentarian award, blah, blah, blah. And then I say it was an honor that he launched my book. Now the limelight, the focus is not on me. The focus is on Dr. Karan Singh. I'm appreciating him. But at the same time, my credibility is getting boosted that Dr. Karan Singh, who has so many achievements, launched Amit Nagpal's book. So my credibility is getting built by appreciating other people also. So, that's the technique. We should not try to monopolize the appreciation, the attention, everything to us. So that's the trick.
Thank you very much for that. I think that was a very valid point. It's really difficult to listen to people who are obsessed with talking about themselves.
Right.
Any other questions from the audience?
Hey, Doctor, just like a question in terms, just like to raise a question in terms of you're mentioning about social media and all that stuff. In today's, what's the best social media to actually raise that particular brand in terms of being a professional or in terms of those things?
Yeah, the best social network is definitely LinkedIn. Twitter would be an exception. The only advantage which I see with Twitter is if you want to connect with vice presidents, CEOs, it is difficult to catch attention on LinkedIn. But Twitter has lesser number of people, so you can catch the attention of more successful people more easily on Twitter. That's the only advantage. But again, I have found Twitter may be useful in building credibility, but very few people send direct messages to each other. So deeper relationships are not built on Twitter, more superficial relationships. But LinkedIn, you can send, there is a culture of sending messages to each other. So there is engagement is more deeper on LinkedIn, and therefore it is the best professional network in my view.
Thank you for that.
Welcome.
Any other questions from our audience?
Dr. Amit, is there a particular format or agenda on how to do storytelling?
Okay, very, very good question. So storytelling templates, as we call it, there are multiple templates. One template which you will find through Google is the hero's journey, which is a template created by the famous Joseph Campbell. And it basically, the template says that, you go on an adventure, you start a new business, you go in search of something, then you are not able to achieve, you don't succeed at business, you are about to give up, then you find a mentor. And then the mentor inspires you, guides you, and then, you actually become successful. So that template is called the hero's journey. Then there can be some other templates. We have one more template, which we call as, for social entrepreneurs, where the focus is that we want to bring, we want to create a better world. We want to change the world in maybe a small way. And, in fact, interestingly, social entrepreneurship is getting a lot of support on social media, because if I'm talking something, my product, my business, then why would someone share it? But if I say, my business is serving the society, my business is helping this community, then people want to share my content. So social entrepreneurship is getting a lot of positive response on social media. If you use hashtag Sockent on Twitter, you catch the attention of people. They retweet you, share your content because they feel you are doing something good for the society. So social entrepreneurship template can be there. Then as a businessman, you can have a third template, which is customer as the hero. In this template, you may talk that my product or our product solved the problem of the customer, but the focus is that the customer succeeded in doing what he wanted to do. So the customer is the hero, not my organization, not my product. The limelight is on the customer. But you benefit that my product helped the customer in becoming the hero. So in that sense, indirectly, you are building the brand of your organization and your product also, because you made customer the hero. Like you would have heard in English, we have this term king maker. So somebody may be the king of Philippines or the president of Philippines, but you are the king maker. You made customer the hero.
So there are three templates. It's the heroes template, the social entrepreneurs template, and the last is the customer template.
Right.
Thank you, Dr. Amit.
So thanks for inviting me. It was a pleasure interacting with all of you. And you can connect with me on any social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. I use Dr. Amit Inspires. LinkedIn, I am there, Amit Nagpal, Business Storyteller. Wherever you are comfortable, stay in touch. Thank you.
Dr. Amit, do you have your book online? Is there any way I can get your book?
Yes. My books are available on Amazon.com internationally.
Mm-hmm.
Personal Branding, Storytelling and Beyond is a book which will be useful for you. My last book is Heroes Amongst Us, which has stories of 32 people from 6 countries where they faced extreme odds in their life and still they became successful. So that's another book which is more inspirational, but if you are looking for a more useful book to build your personal brand, then maybe Personal Branding, Storytelling and Beyond is available.
That's amazing. Thank you very much, Dr. Amit. I look forward to reading your books. I believe Baby has one, right? Okay, so
everyone, the link to Dr. Amit's LinkedIn is in the chat. Also, the link to his book, Personal Branding and Storytelling, is also in the chat. So you can just copy those links to your browser and purchase the books and get connected with Dr. Nagpal.
Thank you very much.
Okay, welcome. Have a great day.
So thank you for being our speaker for this evening to share your expertise on storytelling. We truly were excited to meet you because as a Toastmaster, we all want to know different ways to improve our public speaking skills. And you have truly quenched our thirst by sharing your important tips on how to share our stories effectively and with an impact. So we would like to present to you this certificate of appreciation virtually.
Thank you. So I hope Baby will share it over email.
Yes. So if I may just read, this certificate of appreciation is presented to Dr. Amit Nagpal on the day of 8th of June 2021 for an enlightening talk on telling your anecdotes and stories, signed by our charter president, Baby Doble, and president of Supreme Toastmasters Club, Chim Namjoon, myself.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will be in touch.
Okay.
Thank you.
Indian Namaste.
Thank you, Dr. Amit. Visit us again.
Okay, sure.
All right. Virtual club. All right. Good evening again, everyone, to all our guests and fellow Toastmasters. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. We hope you enjoyed the talk and learned something new from Dr. Amit. I would like to extend an invitation to all our guests to attend our club meeting on next Tuesday, June 15th, 7 p.m., and learn something from our Toastmasters meeting. And anything else? If there's no agendas, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Look forward to see you during our meeting.